everybody, I'm Taylor from Tailored Expressions, and today I want to share with you one of my favorite die cutting techniques called inlaid die cutting. It's a really simple technique, but I think it's often overlooked because it does take a little more forethought than just regular die cutting. So what is inlaid die cutting? Well, essentially you'll be taking your die cut pieces and then laying them back into the piece of paper you originally cut them from. I like to say it's like putting a puzzle together. So once you have the basic technique mastered, there are lots of different ways you can experiment with it. Let's get started. So the first step is going to be to choose a die that you want to inlay. Now, when you're starting out with this, you'll probably want to choose a recognizable shape with a good amount of solid area to it. You'll probably want to stay away from those intricate images with lots of little cutouts. I'm going to be using our swirly clouds and our cloud duo dies. So I'm going to start by die cutting the clouds from this piece of pattern paper. I'm just going to arrange them like this. Now if you feel more comfortable, you can certainly tape those down with some tape before you send it through. I'm just going to leave them untaped. Go ahead and send that through the machine. Okay, once you have those, take them out of the pattern paper and then also remove them from the die. You can set aside these pieces of the clouds as we are going to use them, the pattern clouds, later. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the same 3 dies from plain white cardstock, and that's what we're going to use to inlay back into the cutouts that we just made in the pattern piece. So I'm going to send those through. And do the same thing. You can toss that piece aside, and we're going to keep these white pieces here. I'm using just a regular die pick to get the die to come out of there. Sometimes you have to poke those little holes that are in the back of your dies to get those out. Okay, now we're going to put our puzzle back together. Like I talked about before, we're going to take the piece of pattern paper that we die cut into, and I'm just going to adhere that down to our card base, which is just a plain white card base. And then we're going to take our clouds and inlay those back into our design, just like this. Of course, I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of those before I do that. But that gives you a nice, smooth finish to your entire project. So when you run your finger over it, it feels like it's all one layer. Now you could, of course, give this even more contrast by die cutting these clouds out of a color other than white, if you wanted to make them a little more pronounced in your design. You could do that. So once you've put your puzzle back together, then you can pretty much design your card around that. And you probably see what I mean when I said there are tons of different things you can do with this technique. Obviously, you don't just have to use clouds. You can use about anything that you want. So now we're going to take these clouds that we die cut out of the pattern paper, and I'm just going to adhere those with some foam tape. I have our 1/16 inch roll of foam tape here. I'll put a little bit on the back of each of these. I love this roll because I can choose just how much I want to cut, and it's huge, so it lasts forever. Okay, then after we remove the backing from these, we can just arrange them to give it a little bit of dimension. We inlaid the clouds in the back, and then we're going to add these popped up clouds on top. Just like that. And then I have already stamped and die cut these little hot air balloons from our Bugs and Balloons stamp set. So I'm just going to adhere those again with some more foam tape. Okay, you can put those kind of wherever you think they look good. I'm going to see if I can move this guy over just a touch so I can get this guy where I want him to be. Put him right in the middle there. And then we have the little baskets that go on the bottom of our hot air balloons. We'll adhere those. I'm just adhering these straight down to the card base. And then we have our sentiment that says "Flying by to say hi." I'm just going to stamp that in black ink here at the bottom. And we're going to be done. So you can see that this background cloud is inlaid, so when you rub your finger over that, it's just all one continuous layer. And then we've chosen what we wanted to pop up to add dimension to our project. So there you have it. Wasn't that easy? I hope your creative wheels are turning as you think about how you can incorporate inlaid die cutting into your papercraft projects. To create a card of your own using the products I showed you today, check out the supply list that's in the video description, where you'll find links to the items in the Tailored Expressions web store. Thanks for tuning in today. Happy stamping!